Life has a way of teaching us that growth never comes from comfort. We love ease, we crave convenience, and we build entire lifestyles around avoiding discomfort. But if you look at every great thing that's ever been birthed in this world, every calling, every dream, every transformation, it came through pain. It came through struggle, through the kind of pressure that makes you question whether you can endure one more day. Yet it is in that crucible of discomfort that purpose begins to emerge. Purpose doesn't show up in the palace. It's born in the pit, it's refined in the prison, proven in the pain. See, we've been conditioned to believe that if something hurts, it must be wrong. But sometimes the hurt is holy, sometimes the breaking is the blessing, sometimes the pain you're running from is the very thing God is using to position you. We think pain means punishment, but pain often means preparation. You can't get the oil without the crushing. You can't get the diamond without the pressure. You can't walk in purpose without walking through pain. It's counterintuitive, I know, but it's divine. The problem with most of us is that we keep praying for purpose while running from the process. We say, "Oh Lord, use me." But the moment he starts cutting away what can't go with where he's taking us, we cry out, "Oi me!" You can't ask for destiny and resist discipline. You can't ask for elevation and avoid endurance. The two go hand in hand. It's easy to shout about destiny when the lights are bright and the crowd is cheering. But it's another thing when the lights go out, the doors close, and you're left alone with your thoughts, your doubts, your disappointments. That's where true discipline is forged. That's where your character is built. That's where your faith gets muscle. You've got to learn to see pain differently. Because pain is not your enemy. It's your instructor. It's the classroom where God teaches endurance, where he develops resilience, where he births authenticity. You can't fake growth when you're in pain. Pain is a way of stripping away pretense, peeling back the layers and showing you what's really inside of you. You can quote all the scriptures you want, but when life hits you hard, when the people you trusted betray you, when the doors you prayed for slam in your face, when your plans fall apart and you're left standing in the ruins, that's when your faith stops being theoretical and becomes real. Some of you have been asking, why am I going through this? Why is it so hard? Why can't it just work out? But let me tell you something. Purpose always comes with pain. You can't have a resurrection without a crucifixion. You can't have a breakthrough without a breakdown. You can't birth something new while holding on to what's old. That contraction you feel, that tightening, that pressure, it's not the end of you. It's the sign that something inside you is trying to come forth. You're in labor, and if you misinterpret the pain, you'll abort the purpose. We have to stop treating pain as a signal to quit and start treating it as a signal to push. Pain is not proof that God has left you. It's proof that he's working in you. It's proof that something is shifting, something is changing, something is breaking open. You can't become who you're meant to be while staying who you used to be, and that transformation hurts. It hurts to let go of familiar things. It hurts to outgrow certain people. It hurts to release what once brought you comfort. But if you can endure the pain, you'll inherit the promise. Every seed must be buried before it can bloom. Every vision must be tested before it can thrive. Every calling must be refined before it can reign. There's no shortcut through the process. You can't microwave maturity, you can't fast forward development. Growth takes time, and that time will often be marked by discomfort. But what looks like delay is often divine design. What feels like rejection is often redirection. What feels like loss is often leverage. You've got to trust the pain enough to stay in the process. We live in a generation that wants results without refinement, platforms without process, visibility without vulnerability. We want to shine, but we don't want to be shaped. We want to be celebrated, but we don't want to be crushed. But you can't have the glory without the grind. You can't have the influence without the inconvenience. Every anointing carries a weight. And before God gives you the platform, he has to make sure you can carry the pressure. Yeah. That's why some doors haven't opened yet. It's not because you're not ready to go through them. It's because you're not ready to stand under them. Sometimes pain is God's way of protecting you from premature promotion. Because if he gave you what you prayed for before you were prepared for it, it would crush you. So he lets you go through the fire, not to destroy you, but to develop you. He lets you feel the stretch so that when you step into your destiny, you've got the strength to sustain it. You don't get stronger by staying comfortable. You get stronger by staying committed. You can't let temporary discomfort make you forfeit permanent destiny. Don't let the pain make you panic. Don't let the pressure make you quit. You've got to understand that the valley is a vital part of the vision. All right. Well, the wilderness is a necessary part of the way. Every great story has a season of struggle. And that struggle is not there to break you. It's there to build you. When you learn to embrace pain, you rob it of its power to defeat you. You start seeing the storm not as a punishment, but as preparation. You start thanking God not just for the mountaintop, but for the midnight. Because you realize that it was in the dark places that your faith learned how to see. It was in the silence that your heart learned how to trust. It was in the suffering that your soul learned how to stand. Some of the most powerful people you'll ever meet didn't get there because life was easy. They got there because life was hard, and they refused to give up. They turned their pain into purpose. They turned their wounds into wisdom. They turned their tears into tenacity. Every scar on their body is a testimony that they survived what was meant to destroy them. They learned that pain is a passageway. It takes you somewhere if you're willing to walk through it. So stop resenting the seasons that are uncomfortable. Stop cursing the days that stretch you. Stop wishing away the very moments that are shaping you. The pain you feel today is the strength you'll stand on tomorrow. The tears you cry today will water the ground for your future harvest. Nothing you're going through is wasted. Not one moment, not one wound, not one disappointment. It's all working together for something far greater than you can see right now. You might be in a season where it feels like everything is falling apart, but maybe, just maybe, it's falling into place. Maybe what feels like breaking is actually birthing. Maybe what feels like loss is actually the pruning that precedes fruitfulness. Maybe God is not punishing you, He's positioning you. He's teaching you to endure. He's training your faith. He's toughening your spirit for the next level. You can't pray for a bigger blessing and not expect a bigger battle. You can't ask for greater purpose and not expect greater pain. But when you know that pain has purpose, you stop running from it. You start leaning into it. You let it teach you. You let it stretch you. It stretch you. You let it shape you into the kind of person who can handle what you've been called to carry. Some of you are on the verge of something incredible, but the pain has made you doubt whether it's worth it. Let me tell you, it's worth it. Every sleepless night, every silent tear, every lonely moment, it's worth it. Because what's coming is greater than what's gone. What's ahead of you will make sense of what's behind you. But you have to keep walking. You have to keep believing. You have to stay disciplined enough to endure the discomfort of development. Discipline is doing what's right when it hurts. It's staying faithful when it's not fun. Showing up when no one's watching. It's pushing forward when everything in you wants to give up. And that's what pain teaches you: perseverance. It teaches you patience. It teaches you that feelings are fleeting, but purpose is permanent. It teaches you that sometimes the only way to get through it is to go through it. If you can shift your perspective, you'll see that pain is not a curse. It moves you. It molds you. It matures you. And when you come out on the other side, you won't even recognize yourself. You'll look back and realize that what tried to break you actually built you. What tried to silence you actually strengthened your voice. What tried to bury you actually planted you. So the next time you find yourself in pain, don't run. Don't hide. Don't numb it. Feel it. Face it. Let it refine you. Because every time you embrace the pain instead of escaping it, you unlock a deeper level of your purpose. You become more disciplined, more determined, more defined. And one day, you'll stand in the place that once felt impossible, and you'll realize it was the pain that brought you here. The greatest gift pain ever gave you was the awakening of your purpose. We live in a world that glorifies control. We want to control everything. Our timelines, our outcomes, our image, even people. We want to know how things will unfold before they do. We want to hold the steering wheel so tight that we forget that sometimes the very thing keeping us stuck is our own grip. Control feels safe, but it's often a prison disguised as protection. Because true power doesn't come from holding on. It comes from learning how to let go. There is something profoundly counterintuitive about the idea that you gain power by surrendering it. Everything in our nature fights against that. We're taught to strategize, to plan, to manipulate, to push until something moves. But there comes a point where all your striving, all your planning, all your controlling begins to drain you instead of drive you. You start to realize that control is exhausting. You spend your energy trying to manage outcomes that were never meant to be managed by you in the first place. You're so busy holding things together that you forget that you're not the glue, you're the vessel. You're the vessel. And it's in those moments when you finally reach the end of your strength that you begin to understand what real power is. Real power is not the ability to dominate. It's the ability to trust. It's the ability to release the illusion of control and surrender to something greater than your plan. It's standing still when everything in you wants to fight. It's saying, I don't know how this will turn out, but I know it will. That's not weakness. That's faith. The problem is, we've been trained to believe that surrender equals defeat. But surrender is not giving up. It's giving in. It's choosing peace over panic. It's choosing faith over fear. It's realizing that you can't control the storm, but you can anchor yourself in the one who calms it. There's a freedom that comes when you stop fighting to make everything work your way. Because as long as you're trying to be in control, you're living in constant tension. You're fighting battles that aren't yours, carrying weights that aren't meant for you, trying to fix things that were never in your power to fix. Some of you are exhausted, not because life is too hard, but because you're trying to play every role. You want to be the builder and the architect, the author and the finisher, the planner and the performer. You want to manage what only heaven can manage. And every time life doesn't go according to your plan, you start spiraling, thinking you failed. When really it's not failure, it's redirection. It's a divine detour meant to teach you that you don't need to control everything to walk in authority. Let me tell you something. The moment you lose control is often the moment you gain clarity. Because when you finally stop manipulating outcomes, you make space for something better than what you imagine. When you stop forcing your plan, you make room for purpose. When you stop clinging, you make room for receiving. Sometimes God can't fill your hands because they're too full of what you're afraid to let go of. You're holding on to what's comfortable, but comfort and calling rarely coexist. The moment you loosen your grip, you'll find that what you thought was falling apart was actually falling into place. Power comes from posture, and the most powerful posture is not standing tall, it's kneeling low. It's when you humble yourself, when you stop trying to prove, when you stop trying to control, when you say, I can't, but you can. That's when things shift, because power flows where pride ceases. The tighter you try to hold on, the less you can receive. But when you release control, power begins to flow through you instead of being forced by you. You see, control is rooted in fear. We try to control because we trust. We think if we don't manage it, it will fall apart. Oh. But that fear is keeping you from living free. It's keeping you from seeing the miracles that happen when you stop micromanaging your destiny. Sometimes you've got to let go of what you thought it should look like to discover what it's meant to be. The hardest thing you'll ever do is surrender your version of how life was supposed to go. But the most beautiful thing you'll ever experience is watching how it actually unfolds. When you lose control, you gain peace. When you lose control, you gain perspective. Whoa. When you lose control, you gain power. Not because you have less responsibility, but because you've stopped confusing responsibility with ownership. You're not the source. You're the steward. You're not in charge of the outcome. You're in charge of obedience. You do what's right. You stay faithful. And you trust the process, even when the process makes no sense. Think about it. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in your life didn't happen because you pushed harder. They happened because you finally stopped. You stopped fighting, stopped striving, stopped pretending you had it all figured out. And the moment you did, peace entered. Opportunities opened. Things started aligning in ways you couldn't have planned if you tried. Because when you stop trying to control everything, you give permission for miracles to move. Control is about safety, but power is about surrender. Control is about fear, but power is about faith. You can't walk in true authority while living in constant anxiety. You can't be both the driver and the passenger when it comes to destiny. Either you trust the journey, or you keep trying to rewrite the map. And let me tell you, every time you try to rewrite it, you only delay your arrival. Some of you are delaying your destiny because you're afraid to lose control. Bitch. You want to know every detail before you take the first step. You want to see the whole staircase before you move your foot. But that's not how purpose works. Purpose requires trust. It requires walking when you don't see the way, believing when you don't feel the proof, and letting go when everything inside of you screams to hold tighter. The miracle doesn't happen while you're managing. It happens while you're surrendering. It's in the letting go that you find out who you really are. Because when you lose control, all the masks fall off. You stop performing. You stop pretending. You stop living for approval and start living for alignment. You stop chasing validation and start chasing vision. You stop trying to hold it together and start realizing that maybe it was never your job to hold it together in the first place. Control can make you feel powerful, but it's a counterfeit power. It's fragile. It breaks the moment something doesn't go your way. But when your power comes from surrender, it's unshakable. Because your peace isn't attached to outcomes, it's anchored in faith. Your confidence isn't built on what you can control. It's built on who you trust. And that kind of power can't be taken away. The truth is, losing control isn't a loss at all. It's a trade. You trade anxiety for peace. You trade pressure for presence. You trade striving for surrender. And that's when you realize that what you thought was falling apart was actually falling in line. Sometimes God will let your plans fall apart just to prove to you that His plan still stands. You'll never experience supernatural power until you release human control. As long as you keep manipulating, you'll keep limiting what can happen. As long as you keep clinging, you'll keep missing what's coming. But when you open your hands, when you say, I release it, that's when the floodgates open. That's when peace floods your heart. That's when ideas start flowing, doors start opening, and burdens start lifting. You find strength in the stillness. You find clarity in the chaos. You find power in the pause. We've been told to make it happen. But sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop trying to make it happen and let it happen. That doesn't mean you stop working. It means you stop worrying. It means you stop playing God and start trusting Him. It means you stop carrying what's not yours to carry. Because when you lose control, you find flow. And flow is where the power lives. Every time you let go, you go higher. Every time you release, you rise. Because control keeps you grounded in fear, but surrender lifts you into freedom. You start to live lighter. You start to move differently. You start to feel peace where you once felt panic. And people look at you and wonder how you can stay calm in chaos, how you can stay steady in storms. It's because you learned the secret. You stop trying to control what was never yours to command. Sometimes life will strip you of control on purpose. You'll lose the job. The relationship will end. The plan will collapse. And it won't be to destroy you. It'll be to deliver you. Because if you never lose control, you'll never learn how to truly trust. You'll keep thinking your power comes from your plans, when in truth, your power comes from your posture. You'll keep thinking your strength comes from what you can hold, when in truth, it comes from what you can release. The real giants in life aren't the ones who control everything. They're the ones who trust through everything. They know how to stay still when the storm rages. They know how to breathe when the world shakes. They know how to lose control without losing confidence. Because their power doesn't come from their position. It comes from their peace. You can't always choose what happens to you, but you can choose how tightly you hold on to it. You can choose whether you'll fight to control or whether you'll rest in trust. And when you choose trust, you'll find that what once terrified you begins to empower you. You'll stop fearing uncertainty and start embracing it. Because you'll realize that uncertainty is just the birthplace of faith. Sometimes you've got to be willing to lose control to find your center. You've got to be willing to let go of the wheel and let grace drive. Because control might keep you safe, but surrender will set you free. And freedom is where your real power begins. The moment you stop fighting for control is the moment you start walking in authority. There's something about the human heart that craves elevation. We want to rise. We want to be seen. We want to be significant. Deep down, every one of us has a longing to reach that next level, to stand where the air is thinner and the view is greater. But here's the paradox. True greatness never begins on the mountain. You begin to see that every act of service, no matter how small, carries eternal weight. But pride is a dangerous thing. Pride will make you reject the very place where your promotion is being prepared. Pride will make you say, I'm too good for this, when the truth is exactly what's making you great. The path to elevation is paved with humility, not ego. The first shall be last, and the last shall be first. The more you serve, the more you serve, the more your capacity grows. The more you humble yourself, the more heaven trusts you. Sometimes the reason you haven't been elevated yet is not because you're unqualified, but because you're unwilling to serve. You want the spotlight, but you don't want the broom. The broom. You want the recognition, but you don't want the responsibility. You want the platform, but you don't want the process. But the truth is, before God gives you the mic, He'll hand you a mop. Before He gives you a stage, He'll give you a service. Because what you do in private determines how you'll handle the public. What you do in secret reveals what you're ready for in sight. You have to learn how to serve with excellence when no one is watching. Because excellence is not about being seen, it's about being faithful. It's about saying, I'll do it right, even if no one claps. It's about saying, I'll give my best, even if nobody notices. That's how God measures greatness. Not by how you act when you're promoted, but by how you serve when you're overlooked. Can you still give your all when you're not being applauded? Can you still show up when nobody calls your name? Can you still love when love isn't returned? Because if you can, you're already rising. When you serve low, you develop the kind of strength that fame can't give and failure can't take away. You develop resilience. You learn how to bend without breaking, how to stay grounded while growing. Serving keeps you anchored. It keeps you humble. It reminds you that you are not the source, you are the channel. And when you're a channel, the blessings keep flowing through you because you've positioned yourself to give instead of grasp. There's a quiet power that comes from serving. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it's steady. It's the power of consistency, of showing up, of giving when it's hard, of loving when it's inconvenient. That's what builds legacy. That's what makes people remember you. Not how high you rose, but how deeply you serve. You might feel like you're in a season where you're being used, overlooked, taken for granted. But don't despise it. You're not being buried, you're being planted. Every act of service is a seed, and in due time it will produce a harvest. When you serve low, you're laying the foundation for your future. You're building character that can carry calling. You're being shaped for something greater than you can see right now. The world may not see it, but heaven sees it. Every dish washed, every tear wiped, every kindness given, every sacrifice made, it all matters. You're not losing by serving. You're investing. And every investment made in humility pays back in elevation. Because the more you lower yourself in love, the higher God raises you in grace. Serving low teaches you how to handle success when it comes. If you've never bowed low, you won't know how to stand tall. You'll let pride corrupt what humility build. But when you served in the shadows, you learn to stay grounded in the spotlight. You learn that the applause doesn't define you and the criticism doesn't destroy you. You learn that your purpose is not tied to people's opinions. It's tied to your obedience. So when you feel unseen, serve anyway. When you feel unappreciated, serve anyway. When you feel tired, serve anyway. Because you're not serving for validation. You're serving for transformation. You're not working for man's reward, you're working for heaven's promotion. Every time you serve low, you're sowing into something that will one day lift you higher than you ever imagined. There's a strength in humility that arrogance can never replicate. There's a power in service that position can never replace. When you serve, you're not going down, you're going deeper. You're not losing status, you're gaining substance. Because when you kneel to serve, you stand taller in spirit. When you help others rise, you elevate yourself in ways no title ever could. So don't chase the crown, carry the towel. Don't rush the elevation, embrace the preparation. Because if you can serve low with a pure heart, you'll rise high with unshakable purpose. And when you finally get to where you're going, you'll realize the climb was never about proving who you are. It was about becoming who you were always meant to be. The only way up is still down.